Tracking the right keywords for your book on Amazon allows you to make confident decisions that will result in more sales. Here's a guide to choosing the right keywords for your book. So, with keyword tracking, it's important to understand where that kind of lands within the overall picture. So, Amazon has what's called the A9 algorithm, and it takes a lot of different factors into consideration. Of course, no one knows this except for Amazon, what that secret sauce is and how much each of these factors kind of weigh in. But just to give you an idea, content relevance is what we're going to be kind of looking at and tying that to keyword tracking. Now, there's two ways that you can kind of look at this. So you have the old school way of searching. Now, if you're a little bit older like me, you remember the information superhighway and searching for keywords. You put in, say, book, comma, you know, fiction, comma, and so on and so forth until you got sort of the results that you wanted. Well, search has come a long way. Now we have what's called vector search or semantic search. And that actually understands the meaning of words. So, as you can kind of see in this little graph, semantic search is really important whenever it comes to keyword research because it understands what things are. So you don't have to have that word on the page to convey that sort of meaning. So let's get out of this abstract realm and actually see what Amazon serves up for search results. So if I go into Amazon and search Dragon Fantasy book, I see exactly that. And they serve that well. We can see all sorts of books with dragons on the covers. Perfect. As a customer, I'm happy with these results. Now, what if I'm searching for something that I can't really put into words all that well? Like I'm looking for a books like Harry Potter for my 10-year-old. Well, that means I don't want to see Harry Potter in the search results, but I'm looking for books in that sort of same realm. Well, how would you serve that? So that's Amazon actually does. It will give you books not in the Harry Potter series, but something that's related that might be for, say, middle grade students that like fantasy fiction, and then they can go and browse those results. And that is really important whenever it comes to keyword tracking and where your book is. You can, of course, do the classic keyword search and track those keywords, but who are you actually targeting with your book? And that's what really separates authors that don't sell a lot of books and those that do is they get that targeting just right whenever it comes to their books marketing. Now, before we dive into selecting keywords, I just want to talk about content relevancy just super quick here. So I kind of bucket it into two different lanes. We have what's controllable and what's not controllable. So controllable is exactly that. Everything that you can kind of make changes to steer how your book might be indexed by Amazon and how you can kind of optimize it for better rankings. And then you have the uncontrollable. Whenever a reader leaves a review on your book, you can't control that, but it's important content that is getting fed to Amazon's algorithm about your book and the meaning behind it. So you want to have those really strong reviews where people really expand on it because that helps Amazon know who this book is well suited for. So, whenever you're optimizing, you have to kind of look at those two things at the same time. So, whenever you're choosing keywords for your book, they kind of fall into two main categories. Well, there's definitely a few more, but we're just going to look at two of them. There is broad and long tail. So broad would be something like alligator book. Well, if you searched in Amazon alligator book, you're going to see all sorts of results. You're going to see National Geographic alligator books. You're going to see kids rhyming books about alligator books, and then you're going to see adult books about alligator books. It means a lot of different things. So that's why it would be considered broad. Whereas a long tail is super specific. So illustrated alligator book for kids, that's a long tail keyword. And the search volume, of course, will fall way down on that, but the conversion rate is going to be way higher. So if you want to make sales, especially as a self-published author, you want to have to go for those long tail keywords. Going after the broad ones doesn't make sense unless if you're really pumping out a lot of sales for your title. So you can kind of get keywords a few different ways. You can use the autocomplete tool on Amazon, and that's probably one of the most powerful ways because that's actual data coming from Amazon. And whenever something's being auto-suggested, that suggests to me, whenever I'm looking, that there is search volume behind it because Amazon's not going to surface that at all if no one's actually looking for it. And then you can also use Amazon ads. That's something we'll probably cover in a later video, but you can actually extract search for terms from your campaigns, and that's really, really powerful. And there's, of course, AI tools, but I honestly find them to be more hurtful than helpful. And I'll go over that in just a minute. But basically, you're going to want to just kind of get a tight grouping of keywords that are closely related to your book. And again, it can be both literal keywords and then also semantic related keywords that might make sense. That way you satisfy both types of users and various intents that are designed for your book. So in this instance of see you later alligator, a few of the keywords on my track would be something like rhyming alligator book for kids. Although before I actually definitely track it, I would want to see the search results and see if it's relevant to my audience. Another one could be rhyming goodbye books for toddlers. That's like in the semantic realm that doesn't say alligators at all, but would be a perfect fit for this book because it's a rhyming sort of story and it's geared towards toddlers. We could have alligator picture book for children, although that kind of goes into a gray area. And I'd have to look at the Amazon search results for that. Because, for example, alligator picture book for children could actually be like National Geographic, you know, actual real life alligators rather than these sort of illustrative alligators in a story. So it would really depend on what the search results return and if that's where I want to have my book positioned in, because I feel like it would convert into a lot of sales. So for this title, I might get around, say, 10 keywords and go with that and then kind of see how they rank over time as I would kind of make tweaks. And I'll get into the tweaks in just a second. But first, I wanted to talk about AI generators or large language models on how they can really lead you astray. So I put in the product description and such for See You Later Alligator. And this is what it gave me for broad, mid-tail, and long-tail keywords. And some of these I think are just a little bit too broad. Like toddler books would be super hard for any publisher, even a large publisher, to rank for because it's such a wide encompassing term. If you just put that into Amazon yourself right now in search, you're going to see all sorts of different sorts of titles. But there are some golden nuggets here. Like we could see alligator book for kids, zoo animal picture books because the alligator talks to various animals in the story, and so on. So you don't want to always depend on a large language model because I feel like it could really lead you astray if you just take it at face value. So now that you have all your keywords, it's time to start tracking them. And there's a ton of tools out there to track keywords. Now, I'm kind of partial to Scrivy because I made it myself, but it would be kind of lame to sit here and hawk my own product, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But there's also APIs that are really low cost, but they all pretty much do the same. They send out a query every day, and then they look at the search results and gives you a nice little report and a line graph and shows you how kind of items change over time. So if you were tracking a book, you could see how Amazon kind of ebbs and flows those rankings over time for all the keywords that you track. And once you kind of get an idea of where that kind of settles on the longer term, that's where it gets really exciting. And it brings me to the next point here is look at it for 2 weeks and then start to make incremental changes. So, you would want to rewrite your product description and then see how those rankings change based on what you did for the next 2 weeks. Did everything move up? Then you're onto something. And did everything go down? Oh shoot, put back the old description. It's as simple as that. You don't really have to overthink it at all. But there's lots of those little things that you can control, as I went over earlier about the controllable factors of content relevancy. You can sharpen your A plus content. Maybe your book's not in the right category. That age range you selected whenever you originally uploaded your book, is that the right one you're going for? And it's just a lot of dials that you can kind of do to gradually creep that up. And probably within, say, 3 months or so, you could actually get everything pretty well optimized for your title based on all that data that you're seeing from a keyword rank tracker. And that's the importance of tracking it. The last thing I want to cover whenever it comes to keyword tracking and kind of optimizing your content is your book's title. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting that you go and keyword stuff your title because that will get you kicked off the platform. Nor am I suggesting that you change it. I'm just saying think about it. That's all. So Amazon actually locks down the title for published books, and you can make exceptions to that if you reach out to support, especially if there's like a typo in there, but that's kind of rare. But the important thing is if you're writing something in the nonfiction space where people might be searching, actual place or a thing, a food, whatever it might be, well, you want to make sure that you have the right terms for that in your title, and that will help with rankings. But you got to be very careful there. And I'll put a link in the description to the book's titles and editions, best practices, if you will, that you can see so you can kind of make sure that you don't violate anything. But it will definitely help whenever it comes to content relevancy and your keyword rankings. So that's it with the video. I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.